Hello. Welcome back to the Paper Jam Podcast and Internet Broadcast. This is episode 12. I'm Kate the Great. Today, we're talking about the differences in a for profit and a not for profit school. So, for profit or not for profit college, university, certification program. Always like post secondary. So, this is not like high school, middle school, no shit like this. It's going to be, like I said, colleges or universities, somewhere you go to get like an advanced degree or certification. Now, at the time of recording, it is November the something, 2025. We are the into the thick of the second Trump administration, and the Department of Education is doing things that are the Department of Education is seemingly dismantling itself. And I don't say that because I'm going to get into it a lot right now, but I say that because there will be overlap in certain things, and because some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about was ways that Trump's admin in his first go round uh, messed with. You see that self control just then? Messed with education and things that the admin did the first time around that let these things happen. A lot of times people will ask me, what did I do before doing the internet as a full-time job? And I had a few gigs. I had a few jobs outside of, like, after earning my degree. I have a bachelor's degree in communications based in public advocacy. I had a few jobs after, like, out of college, but the job that I had directly before starting, like directly before I was doing the internet full time, this is the most I'm going to say because I'm not in the business of getting sued. I worked at a for-profit institution. I did not realize I was in the belly of the beast until after the fact, and I realized like what it was. I worked at a for-profit trade school. It was a cosmetology school. I don't know nothing about cosmetology. I wasn't hired to teach anybody how to do hair. I was hired to, I was the student like advisor and things. So my job was to advocate for the student body. I was fired from that job on February 1st, 2024. Not due to anything to do with my performance or anything, but because, like I said, I did not realize I was in the belly of the beast. I didn't know nothing about for profit, not for profit. And as I was working and things, I discovered some things that the institution did that I thought were a bit wrong or perhaps a bit fraudulent, that I pointed out to upper staff, and the next day I was told it's not working out anymore. So here are some of the things that we are going to cover in this video. Also, if at any point in this video you're like, Jesus, she sounds so mean, she sounds so pessimistic, so la la la, that's like, first of all, sorry about that, but also I would rather hurt your feelings and sound like an asshole. Like, I would rather it be like, Jesus, this my pepper had a baby, oh my fucking goodness. Abortion, sorry pepper. Anyway, I would rather hurt your feelings than you be in $30,000 of debt and have nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? I'll hurt your feelings for free, bitch. You don't need to even pay for those. So, but yeah, I'm just gonna shoot you straight in terms of all of this. Here are the things that we are going to discuss. What is a for-profit school or university versus a not for-profit school or university? How can you know which is which? Does this have anything to do with a private versus a public school? How are how are for-profit and not-for-profit schools What's the difference in the way that they are funded? Does that then impact the experience at the school? How so? Okay. I'll probably put some timestamps and shit in this in post so that way you can go and rewatch parts or revisit parts if you need to. What was I about to say? Boom. Put you like this. Start here. If you are concerned about, or if you have been thinking about going back to school, or if you or a loved one has been thinking about going back to school, getting a certification or another degree or something, I beg you watch this video, dog. Like, please, because they put this shit in all kind of confusing language. I'm just going to tell you what it is and what it ain't. How can you know if a school is a for-profit school or not? You can literally Google, is University of North Carolina at Charlotte a for-profit or not-for-profit school? Is University of Phoenix a for-profit or not-for-profit school? If you Google that, it'll tell you. So, the difference in a for-profit school and a not-for-profit school is primarily the way in which this school is funded. School, institution, whatever the hell. The way that it's funded, that is the difference. The tremendous majority, matter of fact, I don't even know if I should say tremendous majority or all of, if it is a state school, so like University of North Carolina, whatever, University of Florida, whatever, you understand what I'm saying? If it's something like that, or if it's a community college, it's not for profit, okay? But again, if you just Google name of the school, is it for profit or no, it'll tell you. So state schools, community colleges, not for profit. What the fuck does that mean? That means that school is kept open by, yes, the tuition that its students pay, but also they are funded by the state government, they are funded by the federal government. We know this and we saw this because you remember earlier in the administration, they were like, if you teach any of that woke shit, you're not going to get funded. See? So, like, there is national funding, there is regional or state funding, the tuition that the students pay. Schools make money off of, if they have a sports culture or a sports team, that generates a decent amount of money. If they have research grants, that generates money. Alumni donations, that generates money. So there are multiple streams of income, essentially, or different ways that the school is making money. And that money is used to keep the school open, keep the school, up to par, offer a good education, pay the faculty, things like this. Great. A for-profit school is opened by a financial investor. So somebody puts a couple mil into, all right, we're going to buy this building, we're going to start a school, blah, blah, blah. They do. It's an investment, and students will pay tuition to go to the school, and that will be the only thing that funds the school or institution, and that is what keeps the school open, is the tuition payments of its students. Okay? Right. So there is a difference in the amount of money that is going to come in, typically, and the way that this money is then used is very different. The primary difference in a for-profit and a not-for-profit school is the way that it is structured as like a business, if you will. So first we're doing for-profit. The key difference, a for-profit school has an owner, okay? The owner is the initial investor into the school. Initial investor. So getting the school open and everything, renting a location if there is a location, getting materials, hiring staff, shit like that. It is all initially funded by someone, okay? The school is then kept open, the for-profit school is kept open by what money? The money from tuition Tuition. Tuition of its students, okay? This tuition maintain. Do I know how to spell? Main that school. So the tuition goes into maintaining the school, but also there's a kickback for this owner, okay? So this owner is going to continue to make money. It's not like they initially invested in creating a school and just for the love of the game because they give a shit about education. No, girl. It is an investment because they will then continue to receive a percentage of tuition. Because of this, for-profit schools have a very high incentive to have as many students as possible because the tuition is the singular thing keeping the school open. And going back to this guy, but tuition is what's continuing to keep materials, continuing to keep the doors open, paying the staff, X, Y, and Z. All right. So tuition is the only thing that funds these schools. Tuition is the only thing that funds a for-profit school after the initial investment. There is this initial investment, typically one person or, initial investors, an owner or co-owners, whatever the fuck. Then after this initial investment, tuition keeps the doors open, okay? As opposed to a not-for-profit school. Yes, you pay tuition at a state school. Yep. That state school, that not-for-profit school, has other forms of income. Let's look. Okay. Not-for-profit. What things keep the school open? So, initial investment is going to come from federal and state. Not-for-profit, the majority of colleges and universities, state schools, community colleges, whatever the hell, initially, it's funded by, the government. So, taxpayer dollars then go into, oh, this area needs a new university, needs a new college. Cool. Nobody's expecting a kickback. Nobody's expecting a return on their investment. The return on the investment is having college-educated population. You understand? Amazing. So, a not-for-profit school will have federal and state funding. Welcome to class. Federal and state funding. It's also going to have stuff like alumni donations. It's also going to have stuff like research grant money. So think, for example, if you go to like a John Hopkins University or Duke University, they get a lot of grants for continuing to do different kind of medical research, science research, stuff like that. So the research grant money keeps the school open. Federal and state tax money keeps the school open. Alumni donations keep the school open. If they have a sports team, sports often makes a pretty penny for, different, think like, Clemson, Auburn, Ole Miss. Sports makes a fuck ton of money for those schools. That keeps the school open. What other kind of thing? Oh, tuition. But tuition is not the only thing keeping the school open or, generating revenue for the school. Also things like the sports teams, the research grants, the alumni donations, the federal money that is received, the state money that is received. All of this is pumped back into keeping the school open. There is no one waiting for a return on the investment. The only person or people making an investment in this situation are the students that go to the school. The investment that they're making is paying tuition, taking out a loan possibly to pay tuition, and they are investing in the value of their degree, the value of their education. You understand? These schools do not have the same incentive to get as many students in here as they can, get as many students, because they aren't insanely reliant on that tuition to keep the doors open. So they are more choosy with who gets to go to school and who doesn't. Because at the end of the day, the graduates from that school or the students enrolled in that school are a representation of the school. Okay? Amazing. Switching markers. So right here, Okay? This money that goes back to the investor is money that is not going into the school. There is no money going back to nothing. So all of this goes back into the school. How does this affect the difference in these schools? Something like a physical location. The money that is invested into the school perhaps is going to a new building, new materials, top of the line technology. It's going to go to the salaries of the staff. Let me tell you something. If you're doing the same work in this institution that you are in this institution, but this institution pays you $40,000 a year and this one pays you $65,000 a year, there's like a 100% chance that you're going to be, that staff member is going to be a better staff member. They're going to, what's the word, perform higher if they feel like they're being paid their worth. The things like counseling. Is this E or I? E. Counseling, a gym, a library, a job fair or fairs, people coming to do guest speaking, an HR department, many things that is offered at a traditional not-for-profit school. Like I said, library, a gym, a free shirt every now and then, solid staff, good materials, upkeep, landscape, things like this that all go into giving you a good school experience rather than going back into the school. In a for-profit situation, it is going to go to that investor. So again, it comes down to what is the main focus or main goal of the high ups in that institution. At a for-profit school, the main goal is profit. At a not-for-profit school, the main goal is the value of the education. Okay? Example, anecdote. If you go to Duke, it's a private school. It's a private, not-for-profit school. So they receive federal grant money, state money, but it's expensive because it's private. The reason it is so expensive is because the class sizes are very small. The people that work there, the professors, are they're expert, like super experts in their fields, very respected in their field. The value that comes with a degree from Duke, when you are going to be hired, if a employer sees that you graduated from Duke University, you are likely going to be offered, like, you had to be a standout to go to Duke. Therefore, it's assumed, probably, usually rightfully so, if you got into Duke, you're going to be a good employee because you had to be a hell of a student. Okay? At Duke, let's say you're going into biology, some medical something. Okay, you need to prove that you know how to do sutures, know how to do stitches. Babes, in your labs, they're going to have a full cadaver. They're going to have a whole dead body in that bitch. Okay? You will never not have the materials that you need. You're going to have top of the line equipment and everything you need. You will have hands on of doing that procedure. Does that make sense? They will have everything you need to give you the experience of that. At, hypothetically, a cosmetology school, they need to see that you have perfected how to do layering. Okay? You will demonstrate this skill 50 times in your time at the school. We will provide you all materials, says the contract. They provide you the following. One sec. Two of these bitches. Okay. Okay, cool. I can practice styling and this thing and that thing and the third. You said I gotta cut hair 50 times to prove that I've mastered the skill? And you gave me two of these heifers? And I paid $30,000 to go here. How the fuck you expect me to do? And mind you, it's not just layers that I gotta show. I gotta show that I know how to do dye. I gotta show that I know how to do foils, highlights, and stuff. I gotta show that I can do a men's cut. I give one bitch one men's cut and it's over. So then I assume the other times that I prove that I know how to cut hair will be when guests come to get their haircut, when people come to get their haircut. Well, can you guarantee that we're gonna have that many guests? Okay. So, things like that. Duke would never. But you see what I'm saying. Also, the fucking community college would never. The community college would understand, hey, dog, if I'm saying you need to prove that you can cut hair or dye hair, I better have some hair to cut or dye to give you. Whether it's on something like this and making sure that you have one of these. Like, come on, man. Here I come. All right, 2 more things. The difference in a for-profit and a not-for-profit school in terms of accreditation. What does that even mean? Okay, a not-for-profit school, the majority of the colleges and universities, have national and regional accreditation. I hate this word. They are accredited regionally and nationally. So they abide by the national, qualifications and rules and regulations, and regional. So it'll be like Southeastern. You know what I mean? Like in the area. Okay? So 2 different kinds of, it's accredited nationally and regionally. So national and regional for not for profit. A for profit school is likely going to have a national accreditation. Okay, so for example, like the cosmetology schools that are for profit, there's like an overarching, the National Accrediting Agency of whatever the fuck, cosmetology, da 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 da. That's that. No regional accredit thing. Why does that matter? Because it impacts whether or not you can transfer your credit hours. So, if you took out a $30,000 loan to go to a for-profit beauty school, a name brand cosmetology school, for some reason you got to move across country, and when you do so, the community college offers the same cosmetology program. Due to the fact that you're transferring to a community college, that community college is nationally and regionally accredited. This beauty school has the national accreditation. None of these credits are going to transfer. Because this school doesn't know what the fuck kind of standards this one was being held at. Because they don't have the regional accrediting. Okay? So the major thing it impacts is, can you transfer your credits or not? Now, an arbitration agreement, this was something that was, I believe during Obama, he made it like illegal that for-profit schools could not have an arbitration agreement. Arbitration agreements only ever apply to for-profit institutions, okay? Only. Not-for-profit school does not have this shit. Under Obama, he said, no, you can't do this anymore. In Trump's first term, he said, yes, you can. Sure, you can. No problem. What is it? An arbitration agreement is what a student will sign before they are enrolled into this for-profit school. Whether it's Phoenix Online, the VRI, or a cosmetology school, whatever the hell. What you are doing, an arbitration agreement is signing away your rights, okay? What an arbitration agreement says is, I, Kate the Great, agree that if I have any problems in my duration of time at this school, it will be handled outside of court. I am legally waiving my right to go to court about anything that happens here. Why the fuck would you need to sign an arbitration agreement? I mean, if you don't plan on doing fraud, there's no need for this agreement. If you do plan on doing fraud, and I realize that that is what that is, I can no longer take you to court because I was made to sign an arbitration agreement before being enrolled in the school. Okay? It is saying I cannot take you to court, I cannot sue, I cannot do anything. And start here. These are things that are often very attractive about for-profit schools and things that entice people to want to enroll there. I'm going to explain to you the negative aspect of them. The acceptance rate. Okay, so you apply to whatever for-profit. Are you good for a bank loan? You can take out a student loan? You're in. There will not be any requirements for you to submit any ACT or SAT score, which, you know, when it's a career-oriented, like, trade type of thing, that's fine. But a very high acceptance rate that is far higher than the graduation rate. Okay? So if you accepted 1,000 people into the school to start during this September period, and of that group, 300 of them graduated, what the fuck? What happened to the other 700? Because all of those fuckers took out loans. Okay? Very high acceptance rate. You must compare it to what is the graduation rate? What's the dropout rate? How long does it take those students to finish? Okay? Scheduling and flexibility. So, for-profit schools, more often than not, here's the thing. And I know my head is in the way. Sorry. We are taught, because it should be the case, that if you take out loans and invest in your education to get a additional or a higher level degree, you should then have more job opportunities and have more money opportunities. The jobs that are, there should be new jobs made available to you, and of those jobs, they should be higher paying jobs than before. From before having this degree. That degree should up your price tag. Okay? When the economy and the world and things are like on fire and scary, there's a recession, there's a depression, there's a whatever the fuck, school enrollment goes higher because people are desperate. I don't mean it like that, but like, there's folks who are needing to better their life. They need money. They can't live paycheck to paycheck anymore, or they are not even making it to the next paycheck. So they need to make more money. So school enrollment will go up, and for-profit institutions, if I'm being very honest about my feelings, they're fucking vultures, and they prey on people who are genuinely trying to better their life and better their circumstances and their situations. Because for-profit universities have a kickback to their owner, their investor, or whatever, when you are then, say you do graduate from the for-profit school and you go out and try and find a job in this field, the people who are looking to hire someone, they understand that your degree is essentially not worth much, if anything. Because of the same, they don't know what kind of standards you were held to, this unaccredited degree. And because it is known that at a for-profit institution, their primary concern is making profit rather than education and the quality of the education, and ensuring that the degree that they put out into the world, this person who graduated from their institution, they go on to prove and set the example of such and such being a very good, respectable institution. Do you understand? I know that this is so much information and it's a lot. Again, and I know that the attention span of the world is 5 seconds. This shit is so important. So I really hope I'm making sense. And if I'm not, tell me anything that I need to be clearer on. Okay, here I come. Now, okay, back to what the fuck I was saying. Schedule and flexibility. For-profit schools target, for lack of a better word, or for that's the most accurate fucking word I could give you. Target non-traditional students, single mom, veteran, you're 35 and going back to school. You're not going to school right after high school. Not Caucasian, women, okay? Already marginalized populations. That's who they target. Due to this, the flexibility and the schedule variety that they offer is often very attractive to people. For example, go at your own pace. Hey, single mom. We know that you're already working 2 jobs and you're up to here and shit to do, you know? But log online during your child's 15-minute nap and work towards a degree to better your life. Is that realistic at all? It might be. Sometimes. Is your instructor a real person? Because it's all online? I know that's convenient. But, like, is there a real human being there? Does that maybe or maybe not real person have office hours? Study time? Perhaps? You offer a 5-day, Monday through Friday course, and you also offer a 3-day course. Can I ensure that the quality of educator and the instructional material will be the exact same in the 5-day versus the 3-day program? What are the outcomes, student outcomes, for your 5-day and your 3-day program? They tend to graduate on the same rate and everything? Or are they very different, showing that we're lacking somewhere, obviously? What else? I believe everybody deserves additional chances, a second chance, and things like this. I believe that if you are a person that does the enrolling for a college or university or institution, anything of this nature, you must be able to read and analyze people and see that they are, in fact, ready and serious to go to school. What I'm saying is this: if you're somebody who got your GED because you dropped out of high school, you had an addiction problem, you had this thing and that thing, a lot of times the reason a not-for-profit school, if you had shitty grades in high school, that'll affect you at a not-for-profit school. If you were a bad test taker, that will affect you. If you were a bad student, that will affect you. In a not-for-profit school, right? A for-profit school is going to hit you with some second chance. Everybody deserves a chance, for sure. I agree that everybody deserves a chance. I'm going to hit you with 2 hypothetical scenarios. Hypothetically, there's a beauty school that's probably about 96% women. The student body, about 96% women. A man comes to inquire about enrolling in school. He has a rap sheet. No crimes against women or gendered violence or anything. Drinks like a mom, okay? Steady with some DUI, steady with some public intoxication. I don't mean to be a cunt. Can you hold scissors without having a tremor because you need to drink right now? I'm dead ass. Because if I allow you to take out a $30,000 loan in a career that you can't you'll never succeed in because because you have a disease, that's predatory of me to let you into school. But that $30,000 is going to be a nice little return for the investor. Your tuition. Whether or not I actually think that you'll succeed in this, that ain't got shit to do with anything. You're enrolled. Also, let's say that 96%, this is not real. That was hypothetical. This is definitely not. What if they were sex crimes? You would still let him in, even though all the rest of your students are guys. Crazy. This individual, another individual, lives in a homeless shelter, has had their kids taken out of their custody. Not in a great place. You're enrolled We encourage you to take out a $30,000 loan. At a certain point, it's not a second chance, it's predatory as fuck. Okay. Gainful employment. What is this? So this is something that must be maintained. Hello, here I come. That must be, if you are a not for profit school, so the majority of colleges and universities and institutions like this, you must be able to prove gainful employment in order for your school to continue receiving like assistance. So for a not for profit school, like I have said, they receive money from federal, from state, tuition, da 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 da. In order to keep receiving that, they need to prove gainful employment. Okay? There was a time during Obama, I think, flag on the play. The one big beautiful bill is fucking with, is messing with a lot of this. So, like, to be honest, not really sure where everyone stands in terms of this. Trump University was a for-profit school, so a lot of the regulations are being done away with. So, previously, gainful employment also had to be proved by for-profit schools in order for them to receive. Let's say I go to cosmetology school, I need to take out a student loan, okay? In order for me to take out a student loan to go to this cosmetology school has to prove gainful employment. What does this mean? So, it's a two-part qualification. It says, of all the people who graduate from this place, 50% of them must make more than the average person in their state without this thing. I got you. God damn it. So, here's somebody with a for-profit Cosmo license, right? Here's somebody who doesn't have any additional degrees. They just have a GED. This person with the for-profit cosmetology license, because they paid to go to cosmetology school, they had to take out a student loan to go to Cosmo school. This person needs to make more than this person, proving that this degree did up my price. This degree is allowing me to make more money. Does that make sense? So, of all the students that graduate, 50% of them must be making essentially more money than when they started, or more money than somebody without this degree or certification. Okay? So that's one metric for how to base gainful employment, meaning after students graduate from here, they are able to be gainfully employed. They make money, they do well after graduating from here. This institution set them up for success. The second metric that, again, I'm pretty sure these things have been done away with is, okay, it's 8%. So let's say you make $50,000 a year. Your annual payment on your student loan must not exceed 8% of your income. What's 8% of 50,000? I think 4,000. Let's do math. Except let's make the calculator do it, because I don't do math. Well, you think you're better than math? No. Idiot when it comes to math. Except for that just then. So, if you're making $50,000 a year, your repayment must not exceed $4,000 a year. 8%, okay? Is like, that's considered like, okay, they should be able to make the payment back. In order for students to take out financial aid loans, because here's the deal. What is financial aid money? Loans, student loans are taxes. We pay taxes. That money is divvied up. Some of it goes to be able to give people student loans. What's supposed to happen is those people take out a loan, their life is better after they get their degree or certification, and then they are able to make more money, do X, Y, and Z, pay back their student loan with whatever little interest was on it or whatever, and like, you know, make more money, achieve higher da 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 da. It doesn't fuck the taxpayer because there was a return on the degree had value. The degree had value. There was also a thing called the 90-10 rule, only for for-profit schools and institutions. It said you must get at least 10% of the revenue for this school. At least 10% cannot come from financial aid. The other 90%, financial aid, even this little shitty ass degree that folks are getting. That's okay, they were able to get the financial aid. When that was a thing, and it had to be at least 10%, this 10% was made up largely by veterans. Because veterans, it's a different thing. It's not student loans, it's like a GI Bill, I think. Wild. Targeting vets? Please, bro. That feels crazy. Students who graduate from a for-profit school, university, institution, whatever, are 4 times more likely to default on their loan. What does that mean? You remember this math we just did. If you make $50,000 a year, your loan payment can't be more than 8% of that. This comes out to $4,000, okay? $4,000 is what you owe each year. If you were to break this up, every month you owe like $333. That's a decent little bill. An extra $300 every month that you owe. If you default on a loan, that means you didn't pay it. You missed your payments. For a few months, you didn't pay your $333. You didn't pay it. They're charging you interest, meaning now you owe us even more because you missed your payment. And it will get to a point where you default, meaning the government will start to, if there's one thing about the government, they're getting their money back one way or another. So it could be your tax return. You're not getting a tax return. Because you owe them money. They may start garnishing your wages, meaning they take the money directly out of your paycheck. And it will have a horrendous impact on your credit score also. And then the other thing that is being like kind of held up in, I think it's a Supreme Court case. There's a big class action lawsuit, meaning a bunch of these students that graduated from a for-profit school got together to do this lawsuit. It's the borrower defense to repayment, I think is called. What odd. Basically saying that the school did fraud in their recruitment tactics. So if the application you sign or when you are being enrolled into a school, you are told you will make X amount of money. You are told we give you job placement. If they don't give you job placement, that's fraud. If you don't make X amount of money that they said you would make, that's fraud. You need to be very careful with those kind of things. Like, what it should say is, our graduates make a range of this to this, of $40,000 to $100,000 a year. That would be an appropriate thing to say. If you, while being recruited into a school, are told you will make $100,000 a year, that's fraud, because it's fucking lying as it regards a legal document. You dig? So, deceptive tactics, predatory loans, things like that. That was what the borrower defense thing was about. This also ties into heavily the arbitration agreement thing. Because if you sign that arbitration agreement, they could have lied to your silly ass as much as they wanted to. Basically. Here's the deal. I know that I have just painted for-profit schools to be absolute shitty garbage, because they are most of the time, if I'm being real. If you can get your certification in whatever it is from from a community college or from a regular not-for-profit university or college, I could not recommend that more. If you are going into something like cosmetology, and this is your best your best option, honestly, I just want you to know all of this stuff so that you can demand the best out of that institution. Okay? If you are somebody who already knows how to braid at your cosmetology school, when you have time on the floor where you actually are taking in guests and doing hair, do not take a braiding appointment. You already fucking know how to do that. Okay? This is a service that if you provided at the house, you'd be making good money. They're not giving you, you're doing this for free. And you've mastered it already. You already know how to do that. They need to teach you about cut and color. That's what you need to learn. Don't let them use you to do what you already know how to do. Fuck no. Mm-mm. Stay on top of them, bro. That's not right. In conclusion, can you see how many? So today, what? Run that shit back, DJ. This video I approached a bit differently, and I just tackled like parts of it on different days, as you can tell by my series of outfits throughout this video. Hang on, November 25, 8:47 a.m. I'm gonna get my hair done later. Well, you don't give a shit about that. I'm ending the video. Okay. There are some resources for you. I'll, around my head, put like the names of the articles and where you can find them. I'll put them in the like info part of the video too, so you can click the link. There's a documentary made by Frontline PBS that's very good about all of this. I know that this is a lot of information and it sounds super pessimistic and not great. And I also know that it would be easy to be like, to watch this video and be like, disgruntled employee, you know? I didn't have no skin in the game. I'm not in any student debt. All praise to the most merciful God. Here was the deal. Also, since I was fired from that job, I've been working for myself for the past almost 2 years. And I don't know if I ever would have had the courage to do that shit. Like, to really take a chance on my dream had it not been forced upon me by losing my job. So, like, oh, I'm chilling on that part. Like, kind of thanks in a weird way. But also, the reason I get so, like, about it is because my job was to advocate for the students. I take whatever work that I'm doing very seriously, especially if it is, I'm supposed to, champion a group. So me and these students got very close. And I saw, or like, I kind of gradually realized the ways in which they were misled, the ways in which I felt they were getting subpar training, the ways in which my allegiance during my employment there was to the students, not to my boss. Like, I mean, yeah, like, I'll do what you tell me to do and everything, but also, like, my job is to be a good representative and good support system for them. And the more and more I work here, the more and more I realize this is not, there are things here that I think are really wrong. Specifically recruitment practices, specifically the fact that you don't turn anybody away, even if you know that this is not going to work. I think that's really messed up. So yeah, it's not because I'm personally got burned, but it's because I realized you're selling these people a dream and sticking them with all kind of debt. That's so messed up. Anyway, the reason I call this internet broadcast the Paper Jam podcast is because, as you can tell by this video, my process of doing things is a bit significantly all over the place. I have recently discovered that they have all 75 seasons of Law and Order SVU on Hulu. So I've had it playing in the background for like 2 days. And sometimes when they show like, we're at the perp's house, and there's like shit all over the walls and strings doing back and forth, I'm like, literally me. That's how my note taking looks. But I'm going to try and also like, here's the study, not the study guide, but like, here's what we went over. Yeah, man. Hope this video is helpful. If there's anything that needs to be further clarified, or like you're still like, about a thing, let me know in the comments. I'm dead ass. Also, if you went to a for-profit school and you're like, yes, on what I'm saying, tell us about your experience. If you went to a for-profit school and you're like, let me know your experience as well. If you want me to make a video that is strictly about my experience working at a cosmetology school, as it relates to this, like as it relates to the ways in which it may disappoint you, I can do that. Just let me know. Now, I'm going to finish my morning cuppa and edit this video, which is going to be painful because it's going to be damn near an hour long and I'm just talking. Sometimes I tell my phone, shut the phone, and then I realize you were talking to yourself. All right, self. I'll see you when you edit this video in 2 minutes. Bye, everybody. I'll see you next week for episode, I don't fucking remember what. You be blessed.